Hello and welcome back to the Passion Stories podcast. I'm your host, Emma Cole, and it is absolutely my pleasure to bring you back to a new Passion Podcast Stories series. What a dream that we are back after a wonderful little break. I have been hiking in Mount Etna, and if you haven't been, it is quite the bucket list destination. There was snow on Mount Etna, which did take me by surprise, and actually it was also my birthday. But don't ask me how old I am, and Mount Etna was mind-blowing. I've previously been to Vesuvius last year, and that was cool, but Mount Etna is actually on another level. It's so big and there's so much activity happening, and I think, it last erupted in January this year, which is just kind of like a bit hard to get your head around sometimes. And so we did various hikes along the lateral craters, we did some on the other sides. I'm not entirely sure of the right phrases to use, but in essence, there's so much variety on Mount Etna. You get to see sort of like luscious greenery, vineyards, and you've got the snow, you've got these mega lava fields. We went into lava tunnels, we went all around these cool craters, the snow, as I mentioned, and it was just such a cool place, and I cannot wait to go back because we're already thinking of going back in summer. But it was just, what a wonderful place to go. And it just, when you're like, wow, nature is just so full of surprises, for one, because volcanoes are definitely full of surprises. It was just such a bucket list trip, and I would urge anyone, if you fancy a little cheeky trip to a volcano, choose Mount Etna. It is an absolute vibe, and Sicily in itself is just glorious, and I cannot wait to return. So yes, that is what I've been up to, and now we are back to Passion Stories and incredible, wonderful people, and my word, have I got an amazing lineup for you, because this series is filled with creatives, endurance athletes, totally crazy, awesome, wonderfully passionate people who are doing amazing things like motorcycling around the world, other people that are doing Ironman and cool, epic things. But we are so much more than our passions, our hobbies, our achievements, all of it. We are more than that. And this is what I love, is that we get to share the real stories, the good stuff, the bad stuff behind these wonderfully passionate people. So yes, what a treat to be back. And I am absolutely thrilled to be joined by Vanessa Ruck, a motorcycle racer and adventurer. She's also a rally driver, a motivational speaker, and a content creator under the name The Girl on a Bike. Vanessa's story is absolutely mind-blowing and incredibly inspiring. And what follows an accident in 2014 while cycling to now, to where she is now with multiple motorbike races in the desert under her belt and so much more. As she enables and inspires people around the world to go on an adventure on a motorcycle. But so much more than that. It's a take on something difficult, and to show you that nothing is impossible if you want it bad enough. And those are her words. And I'm absolutely buzzed because her story is immense and she's so full of inspiration. And Vanessa's going to talk to us all about, how motorcycling makes her feel, what happened with the accident, what it's like navigating chronic pain, and rally racing and motorcycle racing through the desert, and the highs and the lows and the challenges, and also what it's like when you become a mother as a motorcycle racer, and what the future is looking like. So without further ado, let's welcome to the podcast Vanessa Ruck. Vanessa, thank you so much for coming on the Passion Stories podcast. Really excited to have you on, because motorcycling, how did you get into it?
Not like most people is the honest answer. I think a lot of people tend to start with bikes growing up as kids, something in their family. But I didn't get into motorbikes until my late 20s after a bit of a life-changing accident. And for anyone who's listening who does ride motorbikes, they will definitely resonate when I say how addictive they are. Like, you get on one and then you end up wanting more and more and doing more, and yeah, it escalated is the example of that.
And we're going to get into your life-changing injury in a bit, but tell me about that addictiveness to motorbikes. Is it the feeling? Is it the speed?
I think there's everything. It's worth mentioning that I much more gravitate to off-road riding. And I describe off-road riding as being a constant process of trying to keep the bike in the direction you were originally tending to go. Because all of the rocks, the terrain, the mud, the sand, everything is trying to put the bike in a different direction, and you're trying to just stay the way you're going. It's so dynamic. You've got to be so focused. You've got to be reading the terrain, your body positions moving all over the place. You've got all the throttle, the clutch control. You've obviously then got the speed. In the racing that I do, you've got the adrenaline and the competitive side of the racing. And I've realized that for me, when I'm on a motorcycle, the world kind of disappears. And particularly when you're racing and you're doing like the extreme desert stuff that I do, you are so focused on the navigation, so focused on the terrain, the pace, the competitive, the survival of being in the desert, that you don't have capacity for anything. You are just alive, living in that moment, adrenaline, heart's racing. And I don't want to say it's escapism in like a negative way. It's not like I'm trying to escape my life, but there's an element of escapism. And I think a lot of people, a lot of people like to commute on a motorbike, for example, and you can have a really bad day in the office and you walk out the office, you put on your motorbike helmet, and by the time you've got home, you've decompressed and it's just lifted everything. There's something really freeing about being out there on two wheels. You're much more open to the elements, like you feel everything.
I love that. Sounds incredible. I saw that you did a massive 6,000 kilometer race across the Sahara in 2024. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so in the motorcycle world, it's probably deemed one of the most infamous and like tough reputation races. It's the original Dakar, and this is the original Dakar route in Northern Africa. So the heritage of where Dakar started, and you go across all the way from Morocco, all the way down through Western Sahara, Mauritania, into Senegal, and you finish in Dakar. It's 6,000 kilometers, 13 days. Each day is anywhere from 500 to 700 kilometers, mostly off-road. You're following roadbook navigation, which is a piece of paper on your handlebars in a scroll you control with a switch on your finger. It's like a pirate ship, honestly. It's like lines of code. The abbreviations are all French. Why would you make it any easier and have it in English? Pictures and compass bearings. So you're actually following cap headings whilst riding a motorcycle in some of the toughest terrain you can imagine. Like sometimes the sand dunes can be like 400 meters high. You got rocky riverbeds, you got big open plain, you've got really technical rocks, hill climbs, the desert just throws everything at you. The year that I did it, I think 48% of the motorbikes that started on the start line successfully finished all stages of the race. So that shows you the attrition race. A lot of these desert races, unfortunately, people don't come home. They're really dangerous. Thankfully, in that race, everyone survived. Someone did break their neck on day 3, but it's really intense racing. And yeah, I'm really, really proud of myself for making it to the finish line of that event. It was tough. I think by day 3, I could no longer open a water bottle on my own because my arms were so fatigued. You have so much like pump and muscle through your body. You're sleeping in a tent at night just to add to it as well. And I think one of the things that really helps try to bring to home this sort of event is I'm burning or trying to consume at least 8,500 calories a day. And that's a lot. Like how you take on that many calories is actually something you really have to figure out. I take on 2,500 calories just in my water. And if you think of something like a marathon, which is an unbelievably incredible achievement doing a marathon, but you're typically doing 3-5 hours. And on a motorbike in one of these races, I'm out there on the bike anywhere from 7 to 13 hours has been my longest day, and you're doing that for 13 days.
Yeah.
Unbelievably challenging physically, and because of the navigation, you're mentally fixed in as well. It's tough riding.
So there's a really interesting aspect to it, the navigation being an added challenge. And what kind of speeds would you go at?
My top speed typically will be around 145. They don't really go much faster than that. You're riding completely unridden terrain that you've never seen. So like there could be anything in front of you. And I'm going to just use that awful phrase of I just don't have the balls or the need to go faster than that. The top guys will max out at about 160. That's the speed limit as such. Kilometers.
Kilometers per hour. Okay.
So that, I mean, that's still like 100 30 miles an hour or something, like on
That's
off-road terrain
insane.
you've ever seen. Like, it's mental. Yeah.
That is crazy. And you mentioned right at the beginning that you had a life-changing accident. What happened and how has it led you to where you are now?
Yeah. So I was cycling. I wasn't an active motorbike rider at all at the time. It was back in 2014, and I used to commute to work on a bicycle. It was the easiest way with traffic and parking and all that kind of stuff. And it kept me fit. I got 16 miles a day before I'd even like got to my desk of fitness, and I did it every day of the week. Rain, shine, ice, snow. If I wanted to be lazy and drive in, I had to get up earlier, which made no sense. You just get on the bike and stay in bed, don't you? And anyway, it was an office job. I was an account director in marketing, and it was a totally normal Tuesday. I got on my bicycle to head to the wakeboarding lake where me and my husband ran and operated the RAF wakeboarding club. So, I drove the boat and we coached and stuff like that. And got about a mile out of Oxford, and a car coming the other way decided not to stop at their red light. And yeah, that was my life changed irreversibly in a single moment. So I wasn't a bleeding mess or anything like dramatic or graphic. I went to hospital and now it's pretty shaken up, but I was discharged later that night with bruising. Now, if we fast forward 7 years, which was the bulk of my recovery, I have since had 7 surgeries, including a reconstructed right shoulder and right hip. So bruising versus what actually happened gives you an idea of the sort of fight and battle I've had to go through to try and get myself back to. I've always had the goal of trying to get back to being pain-free. I've had to readjust my expectations. It's not realistic from my home. And instead just get to a point where I can adapt, where I can like get up each day, try and make the most of it, cope with the cards I've been dealt with. I live and manage chronic pain in my hip. My shoulder I'm really proud of. It's really good. I get stuck in tight tops, stuff like that, because I've got a little bit less mobility, but my shoulder's really good. It took a while to build it back to the point that I really trusted it, but it's solid now. The hip is a grumpy, unhappy, horrible thing, really. It's very complex. I've got treatments and injections periodically and stuff to help me cope with it and do the best that I can with it. I have to manage it and do a lot of mindfulness, pain management, that kind of stuff. It was kind of through my recovery where I realized that actually the mental recovery has been way harder than the physical. Despite having 2 reconstructed body parts, the mental health is a really big challenge. I was diagnosed with quite a few different things in the aftermath, like depression, fear of the road, which doesn't really lend yourself to getting yourself a motorbike, change disorder. I didn't see myself as me anymore. That was a really
Wow.
tough one because I got to a point where I couldn't really relate to my own body because Vanessa was a strong, fit person. I could kite surf and wakeboard and do pull-ups and do all this fun, cool stuff. And my body was just a broken, pathetic mess. And I actually talked about myself in the third person. And yeah, the world got pretty dark.
How do you get through that kind of feeling?
I got help and I had a lot of counseling, a lot of support, and it certainly didn't happen overnight. I had a lot of emotions, crying, processing it. And one of the things that I kind of found through my therapy was the sort of term mindfulness. And I did a lot of then self-reading outside of it. And that's probably helped me the most. And to me, the nutshell of mindfulness is realizing how much more in control of our thoughts and our feelings and our emotions we are. We have so much control over them. And I think before the accident, I didn't realize that. If someone was rude to me or angry or whatever, my environment would change my emotional state, how I was feeling. And I realized that no one else has the right to do that anymore, but more so like my trigger thoughts. And the trigger thoughts are something that we can all kind of try and identify. And it's working out what's one of the initial thoughts that you get that would send you into a spiral, something that sends you into that negative self-hate, upset, my hip's really hurting. And then I'll spiral into it's not fair. Like, why can't they fix it? Why did it have to happen? The stupid driver. And I just spiral down and down and down. And then I get worse because then I get emotional and I get upset and I'm in pain. And I've learned to recognize that initial trigger thought and catch it in my mind before I let my mind follow it. And at that point, I go, right, okay, we're not going there. What can I do right now to help myself? Do I need to stand up? Do I need to sit down? Do I need to walk? Do I need to stop walking? Do I need to take more painkillers? Do I need to do some stretches? do I need to just distract myself? Do I need to call a friend, put some music on, do something to take my mind elsewhere? Like, what can I do in my control to help the situation that I'm in? Not go down self-pity or upset or hate, because you've got the exact same pain. One ends up in a worse situation because you get emotional, upset about it. And the other one, actually, you feel better because you might have found something that to help it. And if not, you've distracted and you divert, and it stops you going into that spiral. And the trigger thoughts are something that can be like any area of life. It doesn't just have to be about pain management. It's about looking at your own situation, what things upset you, and working out what tips off your sort of emotional spirals and stuff. And that's really, really helped me. And I do that a lot.
And is that something that you also use while you're on a motorbike, going at very fast speeds off-road?
When you get into tough situations and you're really fighting to keep going, there's different variations of how that can work. Reminding yourself that you chose to be there, like you've paid a silly amount of money and you're not on your own. Like, so often you feel like you're on your own in the middle of overnights in the jeans, or I've had to make a little fire to keep warm, keep the Sandman away. There's a full YouTube series of all my races. The Tunisia Desert Challenge is the one I just talked about. And you definitely have to remind yourself that you've chosen to be there. But there's something so empowering about fighting through that, because sometimes life gives us opportunities to quit, and it's very easy to be like, okay, I'll just stop now. That is too hard. So there was an example where I woke up one morning and I had an allergic reaction to something, and my face completely swelled up. I could barely hold my eyes open because they were so puffy. My whole body was like Michelin Man. It was disgusting. And when I do my corporate speaking presentations, I don't know why, but I put a picture of this on the screen. And sometimes the companies have really good quality massive screens. And I look around and I'm like, oh my goodness, why am I showing people this? It's just horrific. But I went to the med tent and I was like, I don't feel very well. And they're like, you don't look very well. You are not racing today. And I'm like, I am racing today. Give me something. And they're like, we don't think you should. And I'm like, well, what is it? And I'm like, you've had an allergic reaction to something. We can give you some antihistamines, but they're not going to work for a while. They're going to take a bit of time to kick in. I'm like, that's fine. Give them to me now. I'm racing. And it would have been really easy for me to go, oh, you know what? I'm a bit sick. Today's going to be a little bit hard. I won't race, because it takes a lot just to get to the start line of one of these races. Funding, energy, logistics, all that sponsorship wise. I am not quitting because I've got a little bit of Michelin Man and feel like death and can't really see. The first 75K of that day was absolutely horrific. I don't know how I was keeping my eyes open. They were just like running with water. But once they kicked in, it started to get easier, and I made it to the end of the day. And then the next day and the next day, and I made it to the finish line, and I came 25th in that race of over 100 people. Sometimes you just got to fight, and just not let the easy way out as such give you the excuse to quit.
And did you have that mindset before the accident as well, or has it kind of underpinned or reinforced that mindset?
So I was definitely adrenaline junkie before the accident. I can't deny that. I was into kite surfing and wakeboarding. I grew up with horses, all that kind of stuff. But I don't think I'm probably a little bit more calculated now. I know my other half has described me previously of having like a little red switch in my head that will just like go, and then I'm fearless, and I'm almost like dangerous fearless. I don't have quite the same ability anymore. I'm way more aware of my own physical limitations and risks, and particularly through now being a mother. I've got a 15-month-old. But I would say the accident has taught me so much, to the point that I'm actually, which it sounds crazy, but I'm almost grateful that it happened, because of the redirection and the kick in the butt that it gave me of appreciating things, living for the moment, saying yes to stuff, getting up and going out there. You know what, you're tired, whatever, you can sleep next week, you can sleep next month, go do stuff, have the experiences, make the memories, all that kind of stuff. What's worth getting upset about? Like, oh my goodness, the dramas some people have when you'll be like, is that really worth that amount of upset? Like, come on, think how bad life could be. So yeah, I definitely think it's given me more fight.
Yeah, love it. And you mentioned that fear of the road. Did you get back on a bicycle, or did you go straight to motorbikes? What was that like?
So in the aftermath, I didn't know what the implication was on my body because it was all so misdiagnosed. And each surgery, I didn't know there was going to be 6 more, 5 more, 3 more, whatever. Each one was going to be the last. And so I'm kind of fortunate in that I didn't know what was ahead of me
Yeah.
fully. So almost immediately after the accident, I went out and bought a new bicycle because I knew I couldn't get back on a bike. To this day, I've barely ridden that bicycle because my hip doesn't like cycling anymore. I ended up getting an e-mountain bike about 3 years ago, game changer. It just takes that bit of load off my hip and I can cycle again, and I'm out mountain biking and it's amazing. I did get back on a bicycle, but nothing like I used to. The bikes came in because I couldn't go on the bicycle and I was really struggling with my commute for traffic, petrol, parking, all that kind of stuff. And during my recovery, there was lots of time where I was like bedbound, lows, post-surgery, not even need to think about riding a motorbike. And then there'd be bits between the surgeries where I was a bit more active, a bit more able, maybe able to ride a motorbike. And then I'd have more surgery and then be back down. And it was one surgery a year for 7 years, roughly. And so it was one of the higher points where I was a bit more able that I decided, why don't I get a motorbike to get to work because I can skip the traffic, all that kind of stuff. Not me, classic Vanessa brain of like not really thinking about what that means. Like the motorbike obviously means going on the road, all of that kind of stuff. And it was terrifying getting back on that bike. And I can't really emphasize it enough how much determination, like how many tears I had, how many little meltdowns I had in my helmet. I mean, I completely lost trust in the highway code. And you're almost not safe on the road if you don't trust the highway code. You know, you stop at every junction or every roundabout or every traffic light because, you know, someone might come even though they shouldn't come because of it's just a trusted system, right? We all follow it and know it. We don't. It took a lot of time, and I'd say the first time, the 10th time, the 20th, the 50th, the 200th time, and even now, 11 years on, if a car comes from that certain direction, it can still like trigger me right back to, and I can see the whole accident. I can see it almost in slow mo, which is horrible. I kind of wish that it would have faded by now, but the mind likes to store some things. But I couldn't tell you what I had for breakfast. It's ridiculous.
And a part of your recovery was creating the account Girl on a Bike, which has been amazing for so many people to see a woman on a motorcycle doing incredible adventures around the world. How important has it been for you to give an account of where you are and what's happening?
At the time when I started it, I had absolutely no idea about how life-changing it would be and how much it would help my own life and my own mental health and my own journey, let alone the loads of hundreds of people that I have supported through seeing my story or some of the tools that I go through. And I'm writing a book at the moment, so I'm hoping that's going to help even more people. For me, the Girl on a Bike was initially like an outlook to try and connect with other people that were going through trauma, to try and see if we could help each other or learn from each other. And I guess I've always been a bit of a glass half full kind of person. Like I'm energized and I try to fight that. And initially, I was sharing pictures of me from before the accident. Like, look how cool. I used to kite surf and snowboard and do all this stuff. And then I ran out of pictures and I was like, oh, make any more cool stuff now. What do I do? So I started being real and honest. And I was just sharing what I was going through. And I think in the world of social media, there's so much fake. There is so much just perfect, shiny, look at me, everything's amazing, doing that. I'm sharing the highs, lows. And so I apologize if you find me and start following me. Sometimes I overshare. Definitely some of the stuff behind the racing, you know, like things that I've learned in desert racing. It was one of my races, peak riding temperature was 52 degrees. Did you know it's really common to get diarrhea if you're dehydrated? Like the stuff, but I learned it. Like one of my most popular videos on YouTube is how to protect your butt and your girl parts on a motorbike. Because no one talks about these things.
Crucial.
Yeah, but it's so important. I'm just honest about everything. You know, it's the highs, the lows, the good, the bad. And I think social media needs more of that because even myself, I will go on social media and it's so easy to look at someone else's page and just be like, why is my life so hard? And just only share 10% of it, right? Everybody does.
Completely agree. And I think that's what is so refreshing about your content and also so empowering. because part of sort of your energy is that you enable and empower other people to get out riding. You do these talks, and how has been doing these talks in person, how does that help you both with recovery and kind of, I guess, looking forward into the future?
Well, when I first started doing talks and sharing my story, it was in lockdown and it was on Zoom calls. And I messaged all of the Harley owners groups and was like, would you like a guest speaker at one of your monthly events or whatever? And I think I did 52 of them during lockdown.
Fair.
And I like broke down in tears. I cried. I was like a mess. I actually realized that talking about it and sharing it was helping me process it. And I quickly realized that from the feedback, people were getting a lot out of it. And so once I was then able to actually meet people in person, we all know the COVID period, I get so much energy from sharing my story. It only takes there being one person in the audience who just gets a buzz out of it. And, you know, I've had people describe me as meeting me being like putting their finger in an electric plug socket, of like waking them up in life and stuff. Is mad, but that gives me energy. When I'm having the low days or I'm struggling or my hip's just particularly bad or I'm just drowning in mum life and content, and like people sometimes look at you and think, oh, all you do is post stuff on social media. That must be such a dreamy, easy life. It is really hard. It is so full on. The amount of back end work on like editing and sponsors and trying to drive it all, it's full on, and I'm juggling it as a full-time mum. When I get those people getting energy out of it, it reminds me why I'm doing it. And it reminds me that me turning it into a positive is somehow making what I went through worthwhile. Like it's turning a negative into a big positive that's now helping other people. And that fills me with just like, fight.
Yeah. Oh, it's amazing. And when you look towards the future, are there big goals? Are there more races? What's the future looking like? The big old question.
I'm really hoping the short-term future has some more sleep, because my beautiful little daughter is not a sleeper, but nature fills you enough oxytocin to cope. Racing, no plans at the moment. It's really dangerous. I kind of agreed with my husband that I wouldn't do the extreme desert racing once we had kids because of the risks. He is being very supportive and encouraging me that I should go back to the desert because he knows how much it means to me. I think with my body and my hip, I'm going to try and get back into the desert in a car, because I started racing for Jaguar Land Rover and their Ebola Defender. I did 2 years as their works driver. Unfortunately, goodbye as soon as I got pregnant. So I need to find a new car team way to make that happen. And right now I just don't have the capacity of everything. And then I'm also thinking of trying to do a desert race in a different way. So instead of being on like the norm, I did the 1,000 Dunas Desert Rally on a Tiger 900 Rally Pro, which is a big full-size adventure bike, not the sort of thing you want to be in the dunes on. It was just horrifically hard, but it's more of a, can you get to the finish line versus are you racing, which totally changes the risks and the game. So I'm thinking of trying to see if I can do another kind of challenge like that. Like in October, I am actually doing a really random one. I'm doing a 50cc monkey bike. My body is going to regret this life choice. I'm going to be like origami on this little bike, trying to get through the Mazuga dunes and stuff. There'll be a full YouTube series. I'm basically trying to adapt. Nature has a beautiful way of keeping mums alive because we want to nurture our children, but I'm not quitting the energy, the fight, the bivouac, the adrenaline of the desert. There's stuff to come. I just don't necessarily know what.
When can we expect the book?
I mean, I've been writing it for like 5 years, but I've set myself the goal of getting it ready to be published this year in 2026. So you've heard it. Obviously, getting it ready to publish, I'm going to try and sell it into a publisher and get support. If I can't, then I'll self-publish. And there's print time frames. So I'm hoping maybe it might be this year, might be beginning of next year. We'll see. So if anyone's listening who's got an arm in and a know of a publisher, please get in touch, because that's going to be a chapter I've got coming up.
Absolutely love it. Oh, Vanessa, thank you so much for coming on the Passion Stories podcast. You have been a utterly inspiring guest.
It's an absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. And if anyone wants to get in touch, My inbox on Instagram, Facebook's always open. A little bit less on it as far as replies because I'm juggling trying YouTube on my own YouTube channel.
Oh my word, I'm so inspired. Literally just after the podcast episode, I was saying to Vanessa that she makes me want to go and ride a motorcycle. She makes me want to go and start with a dirt bike, you know, and I love the fact that it's off-road. I think, you know, that is mega. That is such an adventure and something that really appeals to me. So we shall see. She does run quite a few beginner courses. There's a 2-day one happening in Malaga end of May if anyone's interested. But go and check out her YouTube, everything that she does. It's awesome. And as she says, it's real, it's refreshing, it's empowering. She doesn't, you know, shy away from the difficult conversations. And yeah, it's incredibly enriching as well. And I think, you know, Vanessa's love of adventure, of challenge, of doing something that's hard, but fighting, as she says, to get through it, and the belief in yourself as well. I also found it really interesting to hear about her mindfulness approaches and how it's helped her, because I initially would never put mindfulness and motorbikes together. Those are not but that's just me being very stereotypical, which is a shame on myself. And I think it just shows, like, you know, adrenaline junkies, as I hope Vanessa doesn't mind me calling her. It's so important, mindfulness, for everyone. And it's not just that, it's the power that it can have. And when she was talking about her trigger words, I was thinking to myself, like, what am I? Like, it's such an amazing thing to notice, to acknowledge. And then, as she says, put on music or go for a walk. And I can totally see how incredibly helpful that would be. And it's amazing that she has developed these tools and that she knows herself and she understands her body and she knows her limits now, as she was saying. And it just makes me feel like there's so much more than just getting on the bike and riding it. There's a whole world behind all of that, and the mindset and the mental side. We should never ever leave that behind. And actually, Mental Health Awareness Week is coming up on the 11th of May. So if you are looking for an excuse, a moment, an opportunity to prioritise your mental health, make it now, make it that week, and start it and keep going with it, because it is so important. You know, whether you've had a terrible accident like Vanessa or not, your mental health is crucial, and we should all do our very best to look after our mental health. So make this your moment to look after your mental health. On the other side of that, I also hadn't really considered the physicality of riding a motorbike for 6,000 kilometers at such amazing speeds off-road. And, you know, the grip that you have to have on the motorbike to stay on, the navigation as well on that Dakar rally, across the Sahara sounds just mental. But yeah, it's another challenge, and it's a mental challenge as well, and you have to be very much on it, both physically and mentally. And then another point that Vanessa said that made me reflect and think about an episode from a while ago with British alpine skier Shemi Ulcott, where she says that her relationship with risk has evolved. I thought that was really interesting, about what risk looks like as we evolve through life, and it does make you think what risks you would take when you were younger versus now, and what that might look like in the future too. Lots to think about. So thank you so much, Vanessa, for coming on the podcast. You're an absolute inspiration. And as I said earlier, go and check out The Girl on a Bike across all social media platforms and YouTube. You are going to be so inspired. And as always, make sure you share, follow, like, subscribe to the Passion Stories podcast, because we have some amazing more guests coming up in this brand new series. There's also a lovely Substack called The Power of Passion, and you can go and subscribe to that too, because it's a total treat. It's a jolly event when it comes into your inbox, so make sure you go and check that out. The Power of Passion, everything is in the podcast description. Thank you so much for listening. Thanks to Tune Tank for the tunes, and see you in a fortnight.